we will attach it to this bone, to the slide bone. Add socket, and we will call this grenade launcher flash socket. We will drag this. Okay. Okay, let's set this snap sizes to 1. And yes, this is okay. Maybe like so. Okay. Save. And now we are ready for the logic. Yes. So let's go to our first person character blueprint. And first of all, we need to add component. Skeletal mesh. Here under weapons. Select the viewport and we have our mesh here. Select, where is it? The grenade launcher. Should be under weapons. Okay. Well, you see, this is why we need, yes, let's use this animation class. Here we will set this to use animation asset and look for our grenade, come on, grenade launcher shoot animation. Okay, now we can see where we should place this. Something like this. Let's check. So it is there. Okay, let's bring it up a little bit, further a little bit. See this again. Okay, maybe a little bit here, here. Okay, something like that. Now we make this invisible. We type visibility here and make it invisible. We will go now to our event graph. And first we are going to create the firing logic. So we will copy our grenade fire for the bazooka, and we will leave this the way it is. And here we will call this grenade launcher fire. Compile. We will need a number of variables. So let's create a new variable, make it an integer, and we will call this grenade launcher ammo. Duplicate grenade launcher inventory. And I believe this is it. Here we will change this, we will drag this here and change this here. We don't need this logic as we don't have any, don't have any clip. And here we change not this way, like this. Okay. Okay. The animation, we will set this to grenade shoot. All right. Now in the on fire logic, we will add another node here. Set this to 8. Our grenade launcher will have an index of 8. Connected to weapon selected. Drag this and type grenade launcher fire. So now if our weapon selected variable is set to 8, whenever we press fire, it will go to grenade launcher fire. And now we need to address this monster. Actually, it's very easy. Don't be intimidated by this huge setup. It's actually very easy. Let's take a look. So first of all, we have input actions binded for select fist, hammer, and so on. And they go to the event that called select fists, and the event is right next to it. I have separated this so that we can call weapon change in different circumstances. For example, when we get the berserk, it triggers to select fists. So this is why we have a separate. Also in the automatic switch logic, and also in the next and previous weapon logic, we need a dedicated event. So this is we have this separation. And so whenever we hit input action for select fists, right, we go to this event. First we check if weapon will fire is 1, because if we're shooting, we shouldn't change our weapon, right? And we also need to check if our current health is more than 0, because if we're dead, we don't want to be changing weapons, because there are some situations when you die, for example, and fall on the corpse of the shotgun shooter, and he has a shotgun, and you take the shotgun and you change your weapon to the shotgun. So we need this. And this condition go to all of the weapons. And then we have a branch. Weapon selected. we check if weapon selected is 0. Because if it already is 0, then we shouldn't go to the fists. So each weapon checks. You see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll have 8. It checks if it is already on. So if we are, for example, if we have a hammer selected and we're hitting the key to select the hammer, and we already have it selected, then we shouldn't really do this, right? Then we have, well, let's for the fists we're not checking this because we always have that so to say in the inventory. But for the rest of the weapon, we need to check if the hammer inventory is set to 1 or the pistol inventory is set to 1. When we get the pickup for the weapon, we are setting this variable from 0 to 1, which means we have it in the inventory and we can select it now and use it. So each of the logic checks if the corresponding inventory for the weapon is set to 1. And then we have this thing. So every time we select any of the weapon, it goes here. There's also a dedicated event here that will be called actually holster animations by default, because it's not really holstering logic, it's just the logic for animations. I needed this to trigger it when we die. So this is the only reason I connected it here. So here, going from here, we trigger the holster animation, and we have this. So you see we have weapon selected, and from weapon selected we have switch on integer. So based on the value of this integer of our variable, we trigger the corresponding holster animation. So for example, whenever we are selecting our double shotgun, we check if we have weapon selected. If it's not selected already, so false, you see. So if it's not 4, then we will check if it's in the inventory, and then we will go here, up, and here based on what weapon selected, which weapon is selected currently. We will go to the corresponding animation. So if we had pistol, for example, selected before we tried to select the shotgun, then this value was set to 1, and from here we will go to the animation of the pistol is 2 actually. So we will go to this animation, which is pistol holster animation, and we run this animation for the pistol and for character arms also. So all of the animations are applied, of course, to the weapon and the arms. So if we had bazooka selected, then it's 7, and it goes here and plays the bazooka animation for holstering. Okay, so to recap, every time when we change our weapon, we need to play the animation that corresponds to the weapon that we have currently. So if we are currently having a minigun and we are changing it to the shotgun, then we first need to trigger the animation to holster our minigun, and to figure out which animation we need to trigger. We have this switch, and this switch takes care of figuring out which of the holstering animation we need to run. So from here, we are setting our weapon with fire to 0, and then a delay. This delay basically represents the length of holstering animations, and then we set our weapon selected. 0 for the fists, 1 for the hammer, 2 for the pistol, 3 for the shotgun, and so on. And we will have 8 for the grenade launcher. Then a sequence of events. First, we have again this waterfall of strings. We are setting visibility to invisible for all of our weapons. And then we will set the visibility for the weapon that we need. But first we set the visibility to 0 for all of them. Then there is this one little thing. I'm setting capsule size back to its original state. So if you will be changing the size, then you will have to change it here as well. You can promote, you can make a variable and save it, like on the begin play, get the radius of our capsule component and save it, and then connect that variable here. Because basically we are setting our capsule size to its default value, because for the minigun I'm setting capsule size a bit bigger, otherwise our barrel goes through the walls. And I tried to add simple small additional colliders just for the barrel, but it doesn't work. And I have searched on the forums, and many people talk about this, and there seems to be no way to do this. So the only way is to make our collision capsule size a bit bigger. So when we are wielding our minigun, we are actually a bit easier to hit, and we become a bit fatter. So, but first we have to set, first of all, we have to set it back to the default because of that. So again, if you will be adjusting the size of your capsule component, then you will have to keep in mind that every time we change weapon, this will be set to these values. And if you want, if you want to have this change dynamically based on what you do here in the viewport, you can make you can save a variable on begin play that will get the size of capsule component. You can do it like this. You can drag it here, get size, and you can get unscaled capsule size, and scaled capsule size, whichever you need. And you probably need unscaled. You won't be scaling it most likely anyway, but and then you have this out radius and this out half height. And then so on begin play, you add a variable, like 2 of them, or 1 with an array, and you save that variable. So on begin play, get that capsule size, set that variable to that value, and that variable will be let's say initial capsule size or normal capsule size. And then you can connect that variable here, so that whenever you change your capsule here, when you experiment on the size of your collision, this will get updated. Okay, so then you also set the visibility for arms to we have to make them visible, because the fists, for example, yes, the fists here, we'll set them to be invisible. This is the only weapon that sets our character arms to be invisible, because we have separate arms, separate left and right arm for to run the animations separately. So we're not using character arms for that, and we need this to make, we need to set it to invisible. So every time we change our weapon, we also have to first set this to visible to make sure it's visible. And then if we are selecting our fist, it will become invisible. Then we remove the UI. So this is the UI for each weapon, and we will have another one for our grenade launcher. And first we will remove this UI, and then going then here the UI will be added. So if we take yes, you can see here the add to viewport, pistol and shotgun UI and so on. So okay, going from here, we will take a look at, yes, at this line as an example. All right, so we don't, the difference is here we, for the arms, we are setting the visibility to 0 for the arms. We don't do this for any other weapon. For the hammer, we don't need to set the visibility to 0 for the arms, because we need them. And we don't need to add any UI to the viewport, because we don't have any ammo for the hammer. So the rest of the weapons are the same in this respect. So let's see. Here we're looking at our pistol, and first what we do is we set relative transform for character arms, and the new transformation will be set to pistol relative transform. So we get the relative transform of the pistol, and we set our character arms to match the transformation of the pistol. This because all of the weapons are positioned a little bit differently. So if we don't do that, our arms will be located in a different position. Since all of the weapons and our arms are basically the same skeleton, and it's just the same thing. It's just that we have not included the arms in the weapon, and in the character arms we have not included the weapon itself. So it's the same thing, and if we position them the same spot, they will match. So each time we select a weapon, we have to move our character arms to the position of the weapon. This way you can change the position of the weapon freely, and character arms will always match the position of the weapon. So as you saw, I was positioning the weapon of our grenade launcher, and the character arms will match that position during this logic. So next, we are setting the visibility for the pistol for our weapon. We will make it visible. We will add the UI to viewport. So this UI, as I've mentioned previously, is here. On begin play, we have this line that creates the UI and makes them a variable. So you can see here, create UI bazooka ammo widget and set it to bazooka UI variable, so that we can so that we don't have to drag lines from here to there and make that crazy crazy looking setup look even more crazy. So so here we will add UI for our new weapon, and notice that we're not adding it to viewport, we're just creating it, and then here we address that through that variable that was created on begin play, and that was set on begin play, and we add it to viewport, and we play the unholster animation correspondingly for each of our weapons. So here we play the animation for the shotgun, here for the double shotgun. Then after a slight delay, which is the same for every weapon, which covers the length of the unholstering animation, we set weapon will fire to 1. And then there is a number of events that are a little bit different. We're checking our automatic reload, logic, and so whenever we switch to a new weapon, if it's needed, if we don't have any ammo, and the automatic reload is set to 1, in our the options menu changes that value, we go to the corresponding reload. The difference is for the double shotgun, we do that regardless of the automatic reload option, because there is no point of not having it if you're switching to double shotgun. It's quite fast. You can add this if you want, but I think this is good to have anyway. So as I've mentioned, for the minigun we have these changes for the capsule size. The rest is the same. So basically this is it. This covers this whole thing, and the next weapon and previous weapon, the input action for next weapon and previous weapon is here, and when we hit next weapon, first of all we have this auto switch. This is used, so whenever we are calling this switch weapon here, for example, you see it's just a boolean. Here it's more convenient to have just a boolean to check it and uncheck it. And like I also mentioned this previously, that whenever you create a custom event, you can add a number of inputs. So I created this auto switch. So when we are calling this by pressing a key, then I'm not checking it. But when we are doing this in the logic for, let's say, shotgun fire, we have here next weapon, and the auto switch here is checked. So in case we have it checked, then we will, and in case our bazooka exclusion variable is not 0, then we will have the bazooka excluded from the cycle. So we will get down to it again. So first of all, yes, switch on integer. Again, like I have explained this part, this is very similar, depending on which weapon we have selected currently. We +1, because we are selecting next weapon, so weapon selected +1. If we get 1, then we go to our hammer. If we don't have the hammer in our inventory, it's false, then we go here, which will be pistol. There's a number of conditions for the pistol. Also the inventory, also pistol ammo clip, or pistol ammo in the backpack should be more than 0. So we need to have some ammo either in our clip or in our backup to have it happen. So in the cycle, we are not we are excluding the weapons that don't have any ammo and are useless. So next is the shotgun. Same, we need some ammo in the clip or in the backpack, and it has to be in the inventory. Same for the double shotgun and minigun, and so on, until the bazooka, that also has, like I've already mentioned, this additional condition. We need the bazooka exclusion to be not to be 0, and I'm using this simple multiplication because it's the same thing. The boolean converted to an integer. Checked means 1 and not checked means 0. So if it's 1 and bazooka exclusion is set to 1, or bazooka exclusion, any of this event. So you see the condition is that it has to be equaled 0 so that the bazooka will be selected. So if bazooka exclusion is set to 0, then this will be 0 for sure, because we're multiplying whatever that result is. So we will get the bazooka this way. Or even if we have the bazooka exclusion on, right? But it wasn't automatic switch. We were switching it manually. This will gives us 0. This will be multiplied by 0. We will get 0, and we will satisfy the condition, and we will get the bazooka. I hope it makes sense. The other way to express this thing is that we need bazooka exclusion to be 0, or we need that our weapon cycle is not automatic. So when it is not automatic, this nullifies this expression, and we get 0 and satisfy the condition. And when it is automatic, but the bazooka exclusion is 0, we get 0 and we satisfy the condition. Okay. Well, finally we're done with this part, and the previous weapon is the same, only we're subtracting 1 here. And also you can notice this little difference. It starts from -1 to 6, and here from 1 to 8 is because our first weapon will have to be the last weapon. So if we have bazooka selected and we press next weapon, then we will have bazooka selected, which is 7 plus 1, that will be 8. And this is how we should go to the fists. So our grenade launcher will be here, and this will move down. So our grenade launcher will be 8, and we will go to fist from 9. And here it's reversed, so we are going in reverse direction. So here our bazooka becomes a -1 value, because if we have fists selected, then weapon selected is 0, -1, we get -1. So I'm going from fists backwards, we will get to bazooka at -1. The rest is the same. Okay, now that we have explained the whole thing, we can go on and integrate our weapon into this logic.